analysis of the U.S. elections. We know voting has been underway, and I'm just looking at some stats that have come through and showing that at this point in time, it's an extremely tight race. Joe Biden slightly in the lead over Donald Trump, but many swing states as well. So, to get some analysis, we're joined by Gilbert Monsieur, a French progressive journalist, editor in chief of News Junkie Post, and one of its founders. Gilbert, good morning to you. And I know these are odd hours for you in the United States of America, but we certainly thank you. We welcome you for your time with us this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me, Inayat. Yeah, it's been a long day and a long night. Well, not yet a long night, but it's going to be because the unfortunately for either side actually the election is very tight. You know, it's not. It was not projected to be that tight. Some people, some analysts, and a lot of pollsters were actually projecting because of the very high level of participation, were sort of expecting if you wish, kind of a landslide for the Democrat candidate Joe Biden. But the what I have to explain to your listeners here that might not understand the way the U.S. democracy is set, it's not really it's not at all by popular vote. Okay, everybody votes in each state. But it works with electoral delegates, okay? And what you have 538 electoral delegates. They are spread up to each state in function of the more or less in function of the population of the states, okay? So for somebody to win the election, okay, they have to win more than 207. That's kind of the magic number. And right now, where we stand, we have 209 electoral votes, that's what I'm calling delegates, for Joe Biden against 212 for President Trump. Okay, so it's a system that is that is very weird, of course, because you can actually recently during the 2000 election, which was between George W. Bush and Al Gore. Al Gore won the popular vote and lost the election. Or in the case of 2016 election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, where Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by more than 3 million, but Donald Trump won the electoral college. Okay, so. It's really in a way it's completely unfair. In a way, it means that the U.S. Is not exactly per se a democracy in many sense. It's more like it's not a direct democracy where and there's as a matter of fact there's kind of a push to replace. To modify the constitution and do electoral reform, so it's more like one person, one vote, and at least for the presidential election, just basically it would be a lot easier in a way and fair, of course, because a lot of people, a lot of Democrats in 2016 felt like the election was stolen from them. Okay, so but what I want to do here, I want to make a point. We have a situation where this is not a very, very good case scenario. This is not a very good outcome in a country that is already extremely polarized and divided, to have such a close election. Okay, Biden spoke about 15 minutes ago, and I'm glad, I was able to hear it before I got on your show. And Biden, he spoke before Donald Trump, and he urged. He said, I have to quote him, we believe we are on track to win this election. That's quote unquote. That's what he said. And he feels very good about the states that are not yet tabulated, such as Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. But it's basically very likely to go to a situation of recount. The election might be so tight that they might have to recount two states precisely, which are Georgia, where right now Trump is leading, but Atlanta, which is largely African-American town, the votes are getting tabulated slower. And so Biden is making a very, very slow progress there. So there could be recounts and sort of skirmish of various narratives for actually hopefully it will be over tomorrow, but it might not, because recount have to be petition usually. And it's up to the state, and it's got to have. There's need to be a certain margin of,
yes,
of difference of vote. In Georgia, it's more than 0.5%. But if people old enough can remember that there were a situation in Florida during the Bush election, first election, when he beat Al Gore, where they were like recount, and it eventually went all the way to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court decided that Bush had won the election. So
yes.
this is
Gilbert,
yes.
Can I just stop you there for a minute, please, Gilbert? I'm just going to go for a quick ad break. We'll come back and we'll get your analysis after that.
This is a paid-for advert by Al Jamar, calling on the community of Lenasia to vote for Al Jamar on the upcoming by-elections. The Al Jamar party will be represented by their candidate Imran Musa, who intends contesting Ward 9 for the November 11th by-elections. Visit our website, aljamar.co.za, for more information.
Dad, well, I've been chatting with an investment broker today, and...
Broker? Did the broker tell you that our economy is a mess? There's bushfires in Australia, America wanted World War III, and now the coronavirus is traveling around the world.
Well, I also thought about purchasing some crypto.
Crypto? What's that, like another pyramid scheme? I don't trust what I can't see.
There's an apartment in Belito.
So whole your family will be asking to stay there for free. And what if the government takes it away, eh?
Dad, I don't think it works like that.
I'll tell you what works. Gold. At your age, I invested in gold coins and it paid for your university fees and your wedding. No contracts, no agreements. Your investment is in your hands and you own it. With a 70% growth in only 5 years, do you still doubt gold investment? Contact RJ Coin today, 031 202 4701, or visit them at 151 Stephen Lamini Road in Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal's Breakfast Club aim to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend the day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner by visiting our website on www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny appeal. Small change, big difference.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media.
لا تقل لي وحدي أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
تصنع المستحيل.
The time is just gone 8:32 a.m. and we are focusing on analysis of the U.S. elections. And just in, U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar has won a second term in the Congress, Minnesota's 5th congressional district in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So she defeated her Republican Lacey Johnson by 64.6% of the vote to 25.9%. And we continue with Gilbert, Monsieur, looking at the numbers and as they are coming through. Now, Gilbert, during the break, I was looking at the numbers and I see Biden is now on 224. Donald Trump is on 213. And absolutely critical are these battleground states. Because, you spoke about Florida just before the break, and we're looking at what the Electoral College votes, Florida 29. All these areas, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, they all have actually very, very high numbers. So, these are absolutely critical areas making that form part of the main battleground.
Oh, absolutely, Inayat, and it's really all about, as I said, this issue of winner take all the electoral vote, even if it's 5,000 votes difference. So and of course the most populous state, but the projection is that Trump is going to win Florida. That's the projection. Okay, and as you mentioned, there's also electoral race in Congress and also in the Senate. It appears that the Democrats will retain control of the House, but it looks like the Republicans have a good chance to retain the control of the Senate, and that was not a projection that was set up. But what I want to say, in more in deeper terms, Trump succeed. For example, he got a lot of Latino vote in Florida, which is how he won Florida. But they're not really the same Latino vote that elsewhere in the U.S. They consist more of right-wing, formerly anti-Castro Cuban, anti-Maduro Venezuelan American, and kind of far-right Colombian. So those people, he campaign on the lie because what Donald Trump do is mainly lie about sort of old things. But for some reason, in U.S. politics, they used to call Ronald Reagan the Teflon president because Teflon is like the coating on frying pan so it doesn't stick. Nothing seems to stick to Donald Trump. So he called Biden and he said that Biden was going to pull the country towards radical socialism and communism, which is absolute nonsense because Biden is somebody that is, completely, middle of the ground, moderate. I mean, he's basically what would be in Europe center social democrat, but certainly not a socialist in any way, shape, or form, But let's assume I will make a projection here. I'm going to say that I think Biden is going to be elected ultimately. And I want to talk about what could be the consequences for what concerns the world, which is really foreign policies of the U.S. It could have, the benefit could be that the U.S. would re-enter, for example, the Paris Climate Agreement, and would also re-enter the nuclear agreement with Iran, with the other partner in that agreement that was made under the Obama administration by John Kerry. So the U.S. will have also the Biden-Harris administration would have to reconstruct the tie with traditional allies of the U.S., especially in Europe, like with Germany, France, the entire EU, which Trump had, antagonized. Okay, big power like China and Russia are sort of on the fence because, I'm saying that, in a sense, the sort of the erratic, chaotic way the U.S. affairs were managed under Trump was, in a sense, in appearance at least, to their benefit, which means that it made the U.S. empire weaker, less organized. And but in reality, it's not in the benefit of either Russia or China. It's not in the benefit of cooperation, global cooperation when humanity face a critical issue like a global pandemic, like the climate change crisis, which is getting worse. Because the thing is, how can you have? I mean, what struck me, to me, Biden is politically, I cannot identify with Biden. He's way too, as I said, way too middle of the road as far as I'm concerned. But at least he did mention during the last debate that he views the climate change issue and global warming as an existential crisis for humanity. And that, to me, is very important. On the other hand, Trump said in an interview on 60 Minutes, not very long before the election, that, climate is changing, but he said that in his mind, it could change back, which is, of course, completely ludicrous. The guy is anti-science. His knowledge of world affairs is not even poor. So I think that in terms of global politics, geopolitics, it will be ultimately beneficial for the rest of the world to have a U.S. administration that is going to be a lot more, very, very, very much like the Obama administration, but that is providing that the United States of America rethink its imperialist stand vis-a-vis a bunch of countries. And it's also going to weaken, which is a good thing, the various autocrats and populist sort of neo-fascist regime all over the world, from Bolsonaro to Orban in Hungary and even to some extent, Boris Johnson in the UK is kind of a populist, and he's sort of on the fence now because he doesn't really want to go full-blown Brexit, up until he knows the result of the U.S. election. Because if Biden wins, he knows that he'd better make a deal with the EU. You see, so nobody has to gain from having, the biggest economy in the world and a country that is a very, very big, massive military superpower managed by somebody as chaotic as Trump.
Well, definitely. Now, also, Gilbert, I think just finally, when we're looking at obviously these numbers, we've got the elections, but there's also postal votes that will be coming through, and these will be counted as well. So possibly we may not have a situation where we are going to see a quick announcement being made as to who the eventual winner is going to be.
Oh, no. It's not going to be a quick announcement. I'm watching on my screen here, and I see that Biden has 210 electoral votes in a projection against 213 for Trump. So it's but the longer this sort of post-electoral tension is, the worse it is, because it is a situation, and I want to make an analogy here. I spoke about the 2000 election, but a lot, previous to that, in 1860, there was an election, and the Republican candidate was Abraham Lincoln. He won, and he won narrowly. And the Democrat, and it was kind of a complete reverse of what it is now, because Southern Democrats controlled the South and were, pro-slavery. Okay, not only pro-slavery in their state, but wanted to expand slavery to what they were called at the time territories. So the Democrat lost, but they didn't accept the result of the election. They seceded, and then the Civil War started. Right after that. So what I'm saying is, with somebody as volatile as Trump, let's just hope that it doesn't come to that. Let's hope that if he does lose, like I really think he will accept having lost the election. Otherwise, it could end up into some major tension from his supporters and, of course, the supporters of Biden. See, the numbers have changed again. Now Biden is at 220. But the thing is, as I said, my take on it, and I would almost guarantee it, it's going to be Biden. But the result has to be accepted by the Trump supporters. I was actually hoping that it would be more clear-cut, either a victory for one or the other, but it's not the case. So it's going to take a lot of work for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to try to reunite this country, deal with the major health crisis with COVID-19, and also an economic collapse. I mean, the world is in shambles. So this is the time to have intelligent international collaboration. It's not the time to have political leaders that are, that make decisions based on the way they gut feeling or whatever drive they sort of way of thinking, if you can call that way of thinking.
Well, Gilbert, I must say thank you very much for that and for your time. I know you've got a long night ahead, but we do appreciate you taking time out and talking to us this morning on News on Views and on Salam Media. So all the best to you, sir. Take care.
Thank you very much, Inayat, for having me.
Gilbert Messier, French progressive journalist, editor-in-chief of News Junkie Post, with us this morning, providing live coverage out of the United States of America on the outcome and the results of the presidential election.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice. For over 80 years, Osman's Taj Mahal